Welcome back to Good Morning Sri Lanka. You're still with me, Anupama, and we still have Miss Sally Sterner, the Consular Chief of the U.S. Embassy Colombo, right here with us, and we have further questions to ask you. So, all right. So, during the break, we were talking about who a person can include in the application. There were questions of that parents had when they supposedly when they have children above 21 years, and the application says particularly you have to be over 21 years. Can you tell us about that procedure, please?
Yeah, parents can only list children under 21 years of age on the application.
Okay. And everybody else has to apply individually.
Correct.
All right. And can we stress out a little bit more about how the immediate family only is qualified into the application? Because I think people need to know that. Like I told you before, the perception of immediate family in Sri Lanka is quite different. So who can we include in the application in that sense, and who can't we?
So parents can list their children under age 21, and they have to list all of their children. And that is a reason that people have gotten disqualified in the past, because they didn't list all of their children.
All right.
So they all need to be listed. And also to mention, so siblings cannot be included, so you couldn't list your sister or your brother on the application, and you also couldn't list your mom or dad on the application.
What if you're single?
You're single, then you are a one-person application.
All right, nice. Okay, too bad for that. But anyways, can a person enter multiple times? That is, and you get disqualified.
Oh, I'm glad you asked me about that, because people have gotten disqualified for that. You can only apply once per registration period.
All right.
So this is the 2015 diversity visa. You can only apply once. Between October 1st and November 2nd.
And if you apply for the second time, you immediately get disqualified?
Yeah.
All right. Ma'am, could you please tell us what is the next procedure? Okay, so you get through the interview, you get selected, and then after you leave, when people leave the shores of Sri Lanka, is there anything that is waiting for them out there? Any benefits? People might expect things like jobs, or stable careers, or what can people expect, and what sort of background should people have before they get into the USA?
Well, I need to say that there's no job waiting for them when they arrive in the United States. There's no house, there's no benefits, and that's why we have these qualifications, because people need to be able to move to the United States and support their families, be able to really take care of themselves. So we believe with the minimum qualifications based on education, based on work experience, that people can move to the United States and succeed in their new life.
All right. And are there different categories of visa that a person can apply for when you get into this particular program?
No, this is an immigrant visa, which is you move to the United States, you can reside in the United States, work, go to school, all of those benefits.
All right. So if in case there's a Sri Lankan student, for example, studying in India, or like you said before, in the UK, can she apply through the Sri Lankan embassy?
She would apply online on the website, and then she could interview if she was studying in the UK at the embassy in London. She wouldn't need to come home to Colombo to interview. She would count in the Sri Lankan numbers. She would qualify based on being born in Sri Lanka, but she could interview in London.
All right, so that's pretty easy. But that only depends on whether you're a student or whether you're actually Sri Lankan citizen.
No, or if you're a resident of another country, that's fine.
Right, okay. And another question, can you select your residential area before you get into the USA? I'm talking about the immigrants who are selected. Or is that completely personal? That's up to
completely personal.
Okay.
Wherever you know people or you've read about and you've always wanted to live.
So that is up to them to decide. It's an individual
From
decision.
Hawaii to New York, wherever they want to go. Today was wonderful. I interviewed a family, and they were on their way to Denver, Colorado.
Okay, so that was today. So this program actually is focused on the people who would migrate to the USA in 2015?
So the time period is they apply now through November 2nd. They're notified in May 2014. Then they would interview starting October 1st, 2014 through September 30th, September 2015.
Oh, so this happened. This has a 2-year gap for the entire process.
Yeah, so there is a gap. So you find out in May, and then you can start interviewing as early as October.
Okay, so yeah, the next question that I was discussing with you and Juliana behind the screen before the show started is that there are many people who have a misunderstanding that there are other programs as well, except for the green card lottery, the diversity visa lottery system, the program. Except for that program, there are many other programs through which you can get into the USA, and those programs are also supported by the US Embassy. And like you said, that is not true. Could you please elaborate on that?
Well, there's many ways you can go to the United States. We have, there are the non-immigrant visas, so that's the students, tourists, that's people going to do short-term work assignments, maybe going to a trade school in the United States. We see close to 20,000 residents of Sri Lanka in the Maldives every year for non-immigrant visas. We also have immigrant visas, and that is to go and live in the United States. We do several thousand of those each year at U.S. Embassy Colombo, and diversity visa falls under that program. They're immigrant visas, so it's to go and reside in the United States.
All right, and you said before the break that 50,000 get selected, and is that like a fashion that's going on every year? Or?
Well, the numbers have been pretty consistent over the last 10 years. Around 50,000 apply each year from Sri Lanka.
Okay. And how many people normally get selected?
About 1,000.
All right. So 1,000 out of 50,000, that's pretty rare. And then how many people actually get to go into the USA?
Well, not as many as we would hope. And it's several factors. Number one, people don't check the website on May 1st, so they don't know that they were one of the winners. I think that's one of the biggest problems. So we really are going to make sure that we go out with the public and really encourage people to check the website come May. Another reason is they just decide they don't want to pursue it anymore. It is a big challenge. It's a big, for your family to move overseas. That's part of it. Another one is they come into the interview and it turns out they don't have the qualifications, so they're not eligible to go with the diversity visa program to the United States.
Okay, so do you mean that during the interview you get different feedback as opposite to the application?
Yeah, they may not have passed their A-levels, or maybe they don't have that work experience that they claim to have on their initial application.
All right. And why do you think that happens? Because I'm sure that the feedback they get is the same, even if they applied truthfully during the application process. Is there any reason why you think so far, according to your experience, that people actually step back and say, I don't want to do this anymore? Like you said, that some people actually change their minds about migrating to USA. Is that solely depending on the fact that it's a big challenge and they are worried about their families? Or is there any other reason that you have noted as an official?
Well, I think people's life change, relationships, maybe change in birth of a baby, wanting to be close to home. Maybe they have a better job opportunity here at home, and they just decide that they don't want to pursue it.
Okay, so that's solely the reason for why so many people actually back out.
But I think, as I said, the number one reason is people don't check the website. Something so basic.
Could you please mention the website to us once again?
So the embassy's website is srilanka.usembassy.gov, and that's all sorts of background information on the program and instructions on how to fill out the application. And then the actual online application is at www.dvlottery.state.gov.
Okay, and that will be mentioned on the screen below, so you don't have to worry about that. And like you mentioned before during the break, we were just having a little small chat, and you mentioned that there are so many details, so many programs going on, and that you'll be educating and informing people about this particular program around Colombo and in around Sri Lanka. Could you mention a few details on that, please?
Yes, some of my coworkers are heading north over the weekend, and October 5th they're having a lecture in Kandy in Matale. October 9th, they'll be here in Colombo at Bishop's College in the evening giving a public lecture. So if people have any questions, that's a great time to go and talk to the counselor officers and find out more about the program. And then we also have a web chat and a Twitter interview coming up later this month. The easiest place to get all this information is on the Embassy's Facebook page. If you like it, and then we'll update you with more information.
And that goes as facebook.com/
Just put in
you just
US
mentioned
Embassy.
US Embassy. Okay, that's cool. But this actually includes the people in Maldives, like you said before.
Correct.
So do they have to apply in a different manner?
No, everyone all over the world is applying through that same online website.
Wherever you are, if you're a Sri Lankan or if you're from Maldives, you can apply in the same manner.
Correct.
All right. So now, is there any programs or workshops or information sessions that you offer in order for people to get to know about this program throughout the year? Because I know that there are people who are quite ignorant on the fact that there are information online. So according to what I know, according to what I perceive, residents of Colombo, residents of Sri Lanka are not pro online as much as people in the USA. So they would like to know something in a much more practical sense. So like you said, there's going to be a workshop in the Bishop's College Auditorium. Is there anything else that happens throughout the year to educate people about this program?
Well, thank you for pointing that out, that maybe we need to do more of that in talking to people. We have many presentations at different student events, and we always try to incorporate information on the diversity visa program then. There's always information on our website, Facebook page about the program, but we will focus more on it year-round to get the information out about the program.
Yes.
It's only open once a year to apply, and that's the month of October.
Yeah, and if people miss that slot, then they will miss out
That's
the
it, then they
entire
have to
year.
wait till the next year.
Exactly. So that's why I mentioned the fact that you need to educate yourselves about that. And of course, I need to mention to the audience that the main reason why you won't be selected if you actually apply, like Ms. Turnell said, is that you would not remember to check the website on the 1st of May, on the following year after you applied. So please don't forget to do that in case that you're wondering how we should get our results. And like she mentioned before, you will not be getting any emails or any notification from the US
No
government.
telephone calls, nothing.
No telephone calls,
Nope,
especially.
So it's up to the applicant themselves to look online and check for themselves whether they were selected for the interviewing process.
And it's solely their responsibility, like you said.
Correct.
Yeah, and talking about telephone calls, it's very interesting because I've got this person, like I told you before. Let's talk about the scams, because there are many people, even with the information out there, when it comes to migrating to the USA, people think it's a big thing. Of course, the big thing, but what I'm saying is people who are not very educated, they get led away by people who try to make a lot of misunderstandings. So what kind of advice would you like to give the audience on that? Because we need to stress on that a lot, because many people fall into scams, especially by telephone calls, emails, invitations, organizations and things like that.
Well, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. All
right.
Okay.
Especially if there's a cost involved, because like you said, this doesn't have any cost involved in it. All right. So let's move on to talking about visas, like we discussed before. Could you tell the audience, could you inform us how we could apply for a immigrant visa or non-immigrant visa?
Well, for an immigrant visa, those are based on family relationships.
Okay.
So you'd need to have a sister or brother, or maybe your mother in the United States to be qualified for one of those.
Okay. And everything else depends on this particular program.
Yes.
All right. That's
and we
interesting.
actually send many Sri Lankans go to the United States on the work visas. And so that is, you're sponsored by a company in the United States for a work visa.
Okay.
But that's a little bit more complicated, and I encourage people to look on our website for more information on those programs.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. And